Nathan East.
Come on.
Man.
Too much fun.
So good to have you here today.
Hey, it's good to be here.
I'm a little starstruck here. I get to hear your bass part on Easy Lover, but not only were you the bass player, you had a little more to do with this song than just being a session musician on the day. Can you tell me about how this song came together, how you were involved with it, the gear you used? I want to hear everything.
Yeah, now there we were in London at the Townhouse Studios in Shepherd's Bush, and Phil Collins was producing Philip Bailey, and we had already recorded 2 weeks worth of songs, but when we got to the second to the last day, Phil Bailey said, "Man, we still need one identifiable single that we could take to the label," CBS at the time. And so I kind of just went over to the piano and sort of just kind of wrote this in about 20 minutes, like I was thinking we need something up, kind of danceable, and then, kind of had that line. And then Philip Bailey started singing the part that in his verse. And so he started singing, and everything was and then Phil Collins was singing "Choosy Lover," and then we literally laid the track down in about 20 minutes after, like putting together. What about this section? Came up with this intro, these kind of crazy chords, and then Phil. We put it down, and the studio said, "Well, this is a track. We'll come back and listen to it in the morning." Meanwhile, Phil Collins goes home and writes some lyrics, and he writes the Easy Lover, and he comes back. He says, "What about this Easy Lover?" He starts singing. It sounds good. And I said, "Phil, you should do the duet with Phil. Your voice sounds great on this." So, okay, let's and that's kind of how it came together. The demo that we made actually ended up being the record.
Really?
Yeah. So what we did on the Thursday night was like we were just laying it down. So we remember the idea, and we came back and said, "You like it? You like it? Yeah. Okay, let's go with this."
And did the record label agree when you turned that over? Or like, this is it? Or
they popped it out, first single, and I remember coming home hearing it on 3 radio stations at the same time.
Wow.
It was an exciting time.
Do you remember what you used to get that bass sound in terms of gear?
Absolutely. I had the prototype to my signature bass, which is they called it the BB. I think it was the motion bass, and it's literally the prototype. This and the magic box,
right, which is
somewhere around here. There it is.
This thing right here.
Yeah.
The magic box. So if somebody wants to try to emulate a little bit of the Nathan East sound, they can plug this into their passive bass and get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's made by Yamaha. What do we call it? It's the
NE1.
Yeah, the NE1.
Parametric equalizer.
Right.
Yeah.
So my bass was plugged into that, and then what we did, in the later years is we put that box into this bass.
So if somebody buys your signature bass now, it has that already inside of it.
Yeah.
When do you think approximately this came out? Like 80s or 90s?
80s, like mid 80s, maybe 83, 84, something like that.
But Yamaha no longer makes this.
Excuse me. They no longer make it. So if you see any, get it.
Get it. Which leads me to one of the sponsors of the show. Our friends over at Sweetwater have, not only are they a new gear marketplace, and if you wanted to get a brand new Yamaha Nathan East signature bass or the pending Laney bass amplifier, Sweetwater would be a great place to do it. But they also, you may not have known this, Nathan, they have a third-party marketplace that competes with like Reverb and eBay that is designed for musicians, by musicians. And one of the coolest things about it is if you decide that you want to sell something, you want to put your earnings on a Sweetwater gift card, you get to keep 100% of the proceeds. They don't charge any fees, not for the selling of it whatsoever. So you can get to that item that you want a little faster. You can use it as a glorified layaway program, stack up some gift cards, and then redeem it on things you want.
I had no idea. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so really cool program. It's free to sign up. Sweetwater Gear Exchange. You can head over to the website. We'll have it on screen here if you want to check it out. And what was it like, a quick aside on this, like, with Yamaha, what did they do? They kind of take that existing structure of the BB and then kind of meld it to your desires?
Yeah, we did a lot of R&D, and there were a lot of trips to Yamaha shop, the guitar shop, and just pickups in and out, and just and experiment with that and the settings and everything until we kind of came up with this.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely, it sounds incredible, and it looks pristine. I love it. So in was that all DI for bass, or did you go into an amp, or
That
did you
was
split?
all DI.
All DI.
Yeah,
And-
George Massenberg at the
Wow.
at the helm, recording it. Yeah.
Wow. And
Mixing.
any like compression or anything like that you remember, or was it pretty much just like straight in?
I think it was pretty much straight in. He was saying he didn't have to do much to the bass.
Yeah.
So, got lucky on that one.
Yeah, and you came up with the form on a piano nonetheless, huh?
Yeah, just kind of going over to the piano, and I just remember thinking at the time there were a lot of exercise videos, and I remember thinking what would be a good tempo,
Right,
for
right,
that,
right, yeah, because you're just thinking all the jazzercise and the scrunchy socks. And
Exactly.
How do we get people moving? I dig that. No, it's an incredible song. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Gosh, just hearing it here, it's giving me some.
Well, it's
chills.
fun because that's literally we're taking you 40 years back, but it still when I play it, it still feels like yesterday. Of course, we played it live so much.
Yeah.
And I haven't played it in years, so I'm glad I remembered all the parts.
yeah, it's a great song, and boy, it's just hearing Philip Bailey, in together with Phil Collins. It's just,
and it's funny because, we're all big fans of Earth, Wind and Fire,
Sure.
right? So Phil Collins, he actually used the Earth, Wind and Fire horns on his records.
Oh, okay.
So, and then obviously the connection with him producing Philip Bailey, the chemistry was perfect because he's such a fan. I'm biggest fan too. And Philip Bailey actually, kind of got me the gig when Phil said, "Okay, come to England and produce a record." And he said, "Hey, can I bring Nate with me, my buddy?" So.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I would love to kind of build on that a little bit and more of the work that you did in the 1980s. And it should be mentioned that we're here in the studio of the great Tom Keene, who was involved in the writing of a tune that many of you may have heard of called "Through the Fire" by the great Chaka Khan.
Right.
And you happen to be the bass player on that tune.
Yeah, I mean, again, back in the day, and I. One day we'll have to play Tom's original demo because it's exactly the.
And Tom sings Chaka's parts.
The record. but David Foster was the producer. J.R. John Robinson played drums. Michael Landau played guitar. Beautiful guitar solo in there, and I'll never, I remember the studio and coming up with, trying
he had his
to come
big
up
rack.
With he had his big rack. Back in the 80s, every guitar player had a rack
The
with
Bradshaw racks.
more gear than in here. So, but it's fun to be here with Tom, who wrote so many great songs. And we've known each other for all that time as well. So.
Yeah. So what do you remember about Through the Fire? Because it's got a pretty iconic bass line to it. And I'm wondering, like, was the form of the song developed to the point when you got it where it was like the bass was already established and it was written out by David Foster or by Tom, or was it like, here's the rough chords, you figure out how you want to...
Well, I was actually familiar with the tune because David Foster did a lot of... He had an instrumental album, and that was one of the songs on the instrumental album. And I was a big fan of that record. And Through the Fire, on his record, it was just called Chaka.
I see.
You remember that? And then, so I was familiar with the song, loved the song, and so when we went into the studio to record it, it was one of those things where, I was pretty familiar with it already.
Got it. So you're kind of using the bass line that was sort of established from Chaka, and then kind of doing your thing to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking it from the synth bass to the electric.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm wondering if maybe you can play a little bit of it for us, if you would be so willing.
Well, if I can just give you the disclaimer that it's been about 40 years since I've played it. So.
right, because you weren't touring with Chaka. You did.
So yeah, so recorded it and then didn't. But I think that is. Okay, let me see if I can.
I'm sure it's baked in there somewhere.
Try to have a go, yeah.
Let's hear it.
Just, if you hear any funny notes, just don't be too hard on me.
I look in your eyes and I can see
Oh my gosh. And I know she caught yourself because that was the radio edit and they shortened that outro.
Yeah, they threw a good man. Come on now. This is like a
You caught it though.
this is like a sobriety check. I hope I passed.
No, you walked the straight line, that's for sure.
Wow.
Boy, what an incredible song. Well, I want to move on to an artist that I think many of us recognize you as kind of being very much a part of for a lot of your career, which is the great Eric Clapton. And as you mentioned, you got a chance to meet him when you were working with Phil Collins, and this materialized into an artist that you would be working with and touring with for a lot of your career.
Yeah.
And there's two songs that really come to mind, and we could have talked about just a ton of tunes, but I think Change the World and Tears in Heaven, I think, are two just incredible songs that I think really show the bass prominently, and I think really show your personality as a bass player and studio musician. And I would maybe we start first with Change the World and how that came together. But before we do, I should name that we also have in the house the great Noah East, and save the day with bringing us a proper instrument cable. And I wanted to just grab it here if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if the good folks out here understand, whether you're a guitar player, whether you're a bass player.
Good winding, by the way.
Yeah, this is a little trick I picked up in my ears. That the cable is an incredibly important part of the sound. It is what is transmitting what's going on in the instrument into your amplifier, into your mixing board. And German made is often considered the gold standard as it relates to manufacturing. And the great people at Klotz Cables, who you use and endorse, they make some of the best out there. Can you tell me how you came to find Klotz Cables and how you got involved with them?
Yeah, they came, every year the NAMM show happens, and then I got contacted by them a few years ago, and they said, here, try out our cables. And this one in particular is great because it has the
silent end.
The silent end.
Yes.
So I can plug it in without.
And these are not inexpensive. That part right there, and I'm saying this as a manufacturer, is almost $15 for just that part.
Wow.
To get that silent end, so that when you unplug it from your instrument, you don't get any of that buzzing or any of that sound.
Right.
It's a very expensive part. They're using Liechtenstein-made plugs here from Neutrik. So that
you know a lot about that.
This is the world I'm steeped in. So really fantastic. And I'm sure that you've compared to other cables in the past. Is there anything sonically that you just stuck out to you about these?
I like the reliability. I've had cables where literally they said, here, we want you to try this cable. It's incredible, made with all this. It has a lifetime guarantee. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, lifetime guarantee, I'm in. I plugged it in, and that night it went out. Right. It's like that happened to me recently.
It's a short life.
It was okay, lifetime, yeah. But, so what we need when we are going to go out on tour, we need reliability, and that's number one. Yeah. Sonically, too, and when it reproduces your sound in the studio and live, that's another important factor. Yeah,
and quiet, having high-quality shielding, which these most certainly do. And the listeners out there are in for a real treat, because Klotz has told us that they are willing to give away these exact cables to some lucky listeners of this interview. And all they have to do in order to make themselves eligible to have this very cable shipped to their door, they have to follow Nathan East, they have to follow Klotz Cables, they have to follow Vertex Effects, and leave a comment on any of the Instagram reels that we are doing in promotion of this interview. Any one of them, and that automatically enters you to win. Tag a friend that you think might be interested in this sort of content, maybe a bass player, and that will put you in.
Wait, hold this. I'm going to sign up right now.
Oh, he's going to do it right now.
Okay, I'm going to follow Klotz.
Make sure you're on Klotz.
Okay.
Make sure you're on Vertex, and make sure you follow Nathan East.
Okay, cool. Oh, cool. All right. So now. I'm in. Hope I win.
Oh, yeah. Just a few more to have in reserve. Babyface was also involved with this song, was he not?
Yes.
And so how did Change, because it was like part of a soundtrack, right, for Phenomenon with John Travolta.
Right.
How did this whole thing come together? How did you get involved? What was the story behind it?
Yes, and it's kind of, again, just the way our lives kind of mixed together. But in the 90s, late 90s, I was working with Babyface a lot, and we did a lot of his records, and So in those, songs with Tony Braxton and
Sure.
a lot of the artists that he was producing, we
Yeah.
did Waiting to Exhale and
Fantastic,
and,
and that
Whitney
Forrest
on the-
Whitaker movie, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this was, I think Robbie Robertson found the song, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and showed it to Eric. It was written by some of the writers in Nashville.
Yeah.
Tommy Sims and
Yeah.
and those guys. And so I think Eric liked the song, but I went in to do my regular Babyface session, So
Right.
a lot of times we'd go in there, we didn't know who it was for. Was it for him? Was it for Whitney Houston? Was it
Right.
Aretha Franklin? And so I just went in there and he played me the song, and of course I said, "Hey, cool song." And then who's this for? Oh, this is for Eric Clapton. Really? Wow, So Eric, and I thought it was cool that Eric, respected Babyface and admired his music enough to ask him to produce it.
Yeah.
So, so we went in there and tried to, once again, I tried to just stay out of the way of a great song.
Yeah. What made you think to kind of do the harmonic, or get really high up there? Was it just like, was that something that you had you tried a bunch of ideas, or was that just like the first thing that came to you?
That was kind of just came to my mind as a little, because I think Chaka had done Birdland, and I had
Right.
just done, Quincy Jones had asked me to record it on one of his albums,
Okay.
Jocko's part, and so, it was kind of, so I was, that was kind of fresh in my mind, but the song's in E,
Yeah.
bass player's favorite key,
Yeah.
and so I just was kind of fooling around, seeing what I'd come up with.
And there's a bunch of heavy hitters on this. You got Dean Parks on acoustic guitar separately from Eric Clapton. You got Michael Thompson doing those pads. Was each person just kind of brought in individually, or were you in the room with any of those guys?
He brought us in individually.
Okay.
Tim Carmen,
Yep.
organ, and so it was individually. So that was just me and Kenny
Yeah.
in the room. And then he plays me a song. Wow, that's a nice song. Who's this for?
Yeah.
Eric Clapton. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's always surprising that he doesn't play. I think he's a very underrated guitar player, and just,
Right.
in piano, and
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could do everything.
and left-handed.
And left-handed as well. He's southpaw and also very mild-mannered and
Yeah.
and he comes in there. It's very, very easy to make music with
Yeah.
him, because it's always just fun and very cordial.
Yeah. And boy, did he own the mid-'90s.
Oh, my
just,
goodness. Yeah.
so many hits. It's such a great song. Well, I'm wondering if you might be willing to play a little bit of that for us, if you could.
I'm going to see how much I remember.
If I can reach the stars, pull one down for you, shining on my heart
Oh man.
When you hear a song like that, my first mission is don't mess it up.
Yeah. Did you have a sense that this would be a hit?
I had a good feeling about it.
How good is your radar on that?
It's terrible. my radar is, I know what I love and how much I love it, but I've recorded songs where you just thought, oh, wait till the world hears this. This is going to be the most incredible thing ever, and then it never took off at all. And then I've recorded things that you thought, okay, that was okay, and then they just were huge.
Wow.
But this I felt good at. Babyface, everything he touched turned to gold.
Right, especially that time.
Yeah, and it just, you feel good when you walk out.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to continue with more Eric Clapton and change the world. Now, this was on, I guess this has been early 90s, Unplugged.
Right.
In my household, we had the cassette.
Wow. Right.
Which I still appreciate now, because wherever you left off, you're still there on the cassette, so you could be, on malted milk or whatever, and you could come right back where you were.
Right.
Man, but that was also just another just group of just like heavy hitters. You had the great Andy Fairweather Lowe,
right.
And man, just like, of course, you, Eric Clapton. I'm trying to think like who else was. It was like kind of just A-list guys. Right?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great filling games. There's there, Chuck Lavelle.
That's right.
Steve Ferroni.
Yep.
A lot of the players that were sort of mainstream and you run into in the studio anyway.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely incredible. And was that was in England, correct?
Yeah, we actually recorded the Tears in Heaven. We did the live version in England, but the one for the soundtrack was recorded here.
Okay.
At Village Studios.
Okay.
Village Recorders.
Okay, on the west side. Okay.
Yeah.
And for the live version on the Unplugged, was that like a long rehearsal like it was for Babyface, or was it abbreviated?
that was shorter. We went over there a week to 8 days in advance, and tried to come up with new versions of this, Layla and the songs,
Yeah, that must have been something to kind of reinvent that.
Yeah, it was a reinvent, and it was one of the sort of first unplugs, and Eric was adamant about it. He says, if it's going to be unplugged, we're unplugged, So I was on upright, mic'd. His acoustic guitar was mic'd, and it was not it was all acoustic, all unplugged.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And what do you remember about, maybe we can kind of take it from two angles, from the unplugged version and from just getting the initial recording in the studio. Like what was the form of this song when you got it? I mean, obviously we know it's a very sad story that kind of informs what it's all about. But kind of what was kind of the story behind that as far as your involvement?
It was one of those songs that I heard Eric working on, after Connor went home to be with the Lord. Eric would have his acoustic guitar and thank God, music where he could express himself, and so I heard the chorus, Tears in Heaven, sort of as it was being written on the road and everything, and then it was finished, and then we took it into the studio.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, like, for me, it was like I wasn't playing the song was playing me. I just was attached to the bass. And, of course, Connor is a lovely little boy, spoke a few languages, and had a chance to, meet and hang out with him over in England.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very emotional, obviously. But again, when I approach music, I approach from just a spirit of giving.
Yeah.
And so in that literally, I was just holding the bass, and these notes were coming out straight from the heart.
Yeah.
And so and then to this day we still play it. So
yeah, I love this song. It's amazing. I should mention that our friends over at Moises have a program that we've been using for all the tracks today in order to isolate the bass from it. And without them, this show probably wouldn't be possible. And I know you were saying that this might even be a tool that would be something you might be interested in using for some of your seminars and stuff like that. Because it's not only a great tool for us to be able to isolate the bass, but also a great tool for sometimes when we're working with bassists or guitarists and they haven't played their music this particular song for 40 years. This is a great tool to relearn it because you can isolate the bass or the guitar and hear it and go like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing, or I did this weird inversion here. And so it's a great teaching tool for that. I know Berklee College of Music is using it as part of their teaching curriculum and using that for transcription and stuff like that with students. And so definitely check out Moises. We're going to have all of their details in the description as well as a QR code on screen if you're interested in checking out what it is that they do. And if you want to play some of these tunes just like Nate is, you want to practice some bass, here's a great opportunity to do it. And I'll put you in touch with them if you want to get a copy.
That'd be great. Yeah, it's very cool.
It's such a beautiful song, and it definitely brings a tear to your eye when you think about the context of it, and also, but just the music just supports sort of just the beauty of this this message.
Yeah, and I think it's become a vehicle of healing for a lot of people that have gone through loss or whatever, you know, and it's nice to have something to go to that can be therapeutic and help people get through what they have to manage.
Was it a concerted thing that you would kind of have like this bass solo kind of toward the back end of that song, or did that just kind of happen organically?
We recorded the track, and then I pulled the fretless out and asked for another track. Just to, again, it's kind of just hearing another part in addition to the laying down the bass line. And so that was one of those instances where you really, you step out, and the fretless is such an expressive instrument. Where you step out and try to just add as much as possible to the tune.
And was that for the studio session? Was that your Yamaha bass, or what was that you used? Okay.
Yeah, I used my Yamaha fretless and again my
the BB.
Signature. The prototype.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Was that also all DI for that?
And it was all DI again.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if we could get you to play a little bit of it. I think the version that I have queued up might be the acoustic version, which you used a guild on.
Exactly.
Which is also owned by Yamaha now. I don't know if it was back then.
Oh, I don't think it was.
Yeah.
When I do see that instrument, it takes me right back to the, especially that day.
Yeah. Any special like provenance for that guild, or was it just like kind of something that you had for a long time, or you got it for the purposes of the live show, or? Yeah,
it was at the time. It was one of the only acoustic instruments that I had that would work for it.
Yeah, it sounded great.
No, thanks. It was again, a song like this, you just let it play you.
Yeah.
It all comes out in the spirit. Of the song. Especially, this is where I feel like music is the language of God. It's a spiritual vehicle. To get us through what we have to get through while we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it and get to experience it. Right from the source.
Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven.
big stretch there.
I know, it's crazy. Trying to do two things at once.
Wow, it's absolutely an incredible song.
Oh,
What a
no,
great
it's
part.
unbelievable.
Thank you for that, Nathan.
No,
It's
thank you.
Really, really beautiful. Well, I want to shift gears here to a totally different tempo and vibe.
Right.
And talk about something that's more recent with your work with Daft Punk. And I think a lot of us that are familiar with the album Random Access Memories know that they basically did a throwback where they try to bring all of the iconic session guitarists, bass players, drummers that were on a bunch of great hits in the 80s and beyond and bring them back into this sort of time capsule that they created with that record. They got you, they got JR, they got Paul Jackson Jr., Nile Rodgers, just like a who's who of musicians. And the song Get Lucky is one of the, I think, the biggest hits on the entire record. I'm curious how you got in touch with them, how you got the call to be on this record, any details that you can remember about the song or the session. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's already 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I know,
amazing,
crazy.
you know, but yeah, they contacted me, and I think they were kind of, like you said, going for the sort of retro, even, you know, they had a bunch of old synths and everything in the back, Rollins, and you know, so you look over there and there's all the guys, Paul Jackson and, like I said, Nile Rodgers, and so it's like, okay, turn your go back in time, you know, time capsule, and go back to that day, you know, that era, and it was fun, you know. Got in the studio and all those great, you know, and then they had like 5 different recording machines in the. They had an analog tape machine, they had a digital, they had Pro Tools, they had, you know, a digital reel-to-reel. I mean, it was like all these,
Wow.
and they would record on all of those, and then at the end of the day, you know, try to pick the best sounding one, you know. And it was good fun though.
Yeah. So how long was that sort of arc, the album that you were involved with? Was that months? Was that more consolidated?
We ended up being in the studio for a couple few weeks. Over at Conway tracking, and we had no idea what we were tracking because there weren't any lyrics and just these great grooves.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, Get Lucky, we recorded it, and then it got sent back to New York, and Nile Rodgers put his part on. Pharrell, you know, put the lyrics, and then when I heard it again, I said, "Oh wait, I'd like to have another go," you know, because with the Nile thing, it really had the chic, and I wanted to do my best Bernard Edwards impersonation.
Yeah.
You know? So they let me have it. So they just turned on the tape and the Pro Tools and let her rip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was that like a couple of takes? Was that like one? Do you remember much?
Yeah,
of it?
it was funny because they kind of let it go, so you could do 1 or 2 or 3 takes, and we did a few takes, and at the end, because they have engineers that are just editing everything together, you know, and but after the Grammys, and one of the engineers said, we just used 1 take of yours, and just one start to finish.
Wow.
So really? Okay.
Wow.
So I got lucky.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And was Paul Jackson in the studio with you, or was that
Yes.
again? Okay.
Yeah, we were all tracking together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what these guys look like? They don't wear their motorcycle helmets.
Right, exactly. And but if I told you, you'd
right. Now we're not asking to reveal their anonymity, but nevertheless,
You know, I got in trouble because I was, you know, snapping pictures in the studio. Everybody's with the iPhone, and then I was about to post to Facebook, and then they said, "Oh no, nobody knows what we look like."
Right.
So I just before I hit send, you know, they stopped me.
All right. Well, yeah. They I guess they can still, you know, be wherever they are and be in peace. And
But you can, you know, you can play for 45,000 people, and then afterwards walk out in the crowd and go home with them, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe they got something.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. No, lovely guys though.
And was that also your signature bass on that?
Same bass again, yeah.
In a DI, or did they have you in an amp? Or?
Straight into DI. Yeah.
Now, we've been talking a lot about most of these sessions, it seems like you are DI'd.
Yeah.
But it should be said that you've recently collaborated with Laney and you've created an incredible bass amplifier for people that want to sort of capture your signature tone and don't want to go DI. Can you tell us a little bit about this amp and kind of how this collaboration with Laney started before we maybe play a little bit of Get Lucky?
No, absolutely. And Laney is a company that out of all these years I've been playing amps, sort of never made it to my radar. I don't know why, because they're out of the UK, and I spend a lot of time there. But they definitely make a great amp, and I've been with them now a couple years. And a friend of mine, Jason McNamara, who lives in Japan, he's from Australia, but he lives in Tokyo. He was one of the sort of A&R guys for Laney, and he said, I want to introduce you to the guys and the amp. So we were rehearsing in England with Eric, and he took me by, and they set up where they had all the amps and set up a demo for me. And I went by and met everybody from Laney and then plugged in. And it was love at first sight, and especially when they told me what this amp, the Digbeth, could do. So started playing through that, and I said, well, can you bring one to the Royal Albert Hall, and we'll put it to the road test, And we did that, and it just felt like a musical amp, like, their head designer, especially back in the day, was his bass player.
Yeah.
So he was making something came up with Lyndon came up with a great product, and so they've been making amps for all these years, and then one of the things that I talked about that I don't know why every amp only has one input, every bass amp, so, and then I play upright bass on the gig and electric, and then we talked about a possible signature situation, where. And I said, could we make an amp that has two inputs? Would that be easy enough to do? And so they got together, and we sat down at the drawing board and just about to release a signature bass amp.
Wow! And is this a tube amp, or is it solid state, or?
It's a kind of combo platter of tube and solid state.
Wow. Okay. So is it tube preamp and solid state power amp, or? And it's okay if you don't know the answer to this. I'm sure that whatever details there are, we can make sure that's present on screen so people can know a little bit more about it.
I have to keep a lot of it secret.
No, that's right.
Right. No, but they'll be the specs will be released soon. But it's the game changer for me is having two inputs.
Yeah.
Two DIs out.
Wow.
Pre and post.
Wow.
So I mean.
And then you can also just go to a speaker cabinet too if you just want to feel the air moving.
Go to a speaker cabinet, because now what I have to do is, for the electric, I'm going through my speaker cabinet, but with the upright, I have to trust that it's going to come through the monitors.
Yeah.
And I just completely, have to trust that the fatness will be there.
Right.
But now I have control over all of them, and front of house has.
It's a super consistent mix, right?
Exactly, and they have control over both instruments individually as well.
Wow.
So a real game changer.
Wow. So you just leave like your upright connected to it because it's got the second input, and then you can just grab it. It's already ready to go.
Grab it, and then there's either a foot pedal to switch inputs or a switch on the amp, and it's got all the great qualities of the Digbeth, which is like a 500 watt head.
Wow.
But with this, you get 500 each.
Wow. All right. Well, that's fantastic. Well, we'll make sure that the specs, to the degree that they're known at the time that this releases, are available, and maybe even, I know that I've seen some photos floating around the internet of you in the amplifier. So to the degree we're able to divulge, we will do that. But we should be staying tuned for this signature amp to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Sometime early 2025.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe we can transition into Get Lucky and get to hear a little bit of that part.
Man, let's see if I can still remember it. I know there's at least 4 chord changes.
Like the legend of the phoenix, all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning?
Wow, too much fun.
Wow, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, I just love everything about that tune. It's such a great bass line. And yeah, definitely, I could see you were channeling Bernard Edwards, but you were still uniquely you.
Yeah, he had that real percussive and pointy, kind of mid-rangey sound.
And I think he was all Music Man, right, on that stuff?
I think so.
Yeah. There's a Stingray or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, really, that pointed, the real percussive bass sound I used to love from all those tunes from the 70s.
Yeah. When you were when you were doing all these sessions like we've talked about with Eric Clapton and other stuff that we're going to end up talking about, were you using a certain string on your Yamaha basses at that time? I know now your Dunlop.
Right.
Fantastic strings. I want to talk about that, but I'm curious, what was the string that you would typically use, like on all those hit sessions that you were doing, like in the 80s and 90s? Whether it was
Yamaha makes a great string as well, and they used to have these strings that they didn't actually sell, but they had, they just would wind them on the basses, and I would take my bass in, to get a tune up or whatever, and then they would always come back with those strings, and so. And I was like, you guys don't sell these? Oh, no, we just keep them here and string our instruments. And so those were the strings that I was using.
So now you're using Dunlop, and what facilitated the change? What is it about these strings that you feel like just really work for you?
Yeah, I love them. They last. They're great, consistent, because a lot of times you used to get packs of strings, and then one of them would be a bum string,
Yeah.
And so these are consistently, I like the feel and the gauge, regular gauge, and they make a super bright string that I just feel in the studio and live it cuts pretty good.
And what's the gauge that you use for your strings?
Yeah, I think it's 130, but like on my 6 strings, I have 45 to 130.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So.
Well, and I have some good news for the viewers out there that Dunlop has agreed to give away some of the same sets that Nathan used to several of the viewers of the show. All you need to do is you need to follow Nathan on Instagram. You got to follow Dunlop on Instagram and follow Vertex on Instagram and leave a comment on any of the short reel clips that we put out that are promoting this interview. And you're automatically entered to win.
I'm going to follow you guys right now.
They will ship it out. They will ship it right to your door. So thank you to Dunlop for that.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah. So, Nathan, I want to... Oh, you already did. All right. Thank you.
And I hope I win.
Yeah. I'd love to talk to you about another artist that you are... associated with, I think, to a large degree, the great Kenny Loggins.
Oh, yeah.
And some of his biggest hits have included you at the helm on bass.
Wow.
And one of them that I would love to talk about from the movie Caddyshack is the song. Actually, no. Is it Caddyshack? No, it's Footloose with Kevin Bacon.
That's right. It's Footloose.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting confused because he writes. So he was the prolific. Songwriter for almost everything.
I'm All Right, and those.
Yeah, I'm All Right is the Caddyshack.
The Caddyshacks, yeah.
So for Footloose with Kevin Bacon, where he's a dancer out somewhere out in the Midwest, where they have this beautiful song that he wrote and has this great bass line in the introduction. I think Buzzy Featon on guitar.
Yeah.
And
wow.
You remember that?
And it's funny because now that I think of it, Kenny's had a lot of hits in as soundtracks.
Yeah, he was the soundtrack
picture
guy. Yeah.
Top Gun and Danger Zone and all this. Like,
you can see my confusion. I guess I should know this. These movies did come out before I was born, so that is one get out of jail free on that one. But nevertheless, I remember actually, I talked to Buzzy about it once, and he said that Kenny had dictated that kind of bluesy. Dictated that to him.
Yeah.
Do you remember like what form the song was in when you got to it?
Yeah, just kind of basically, that and the don't. That was his.
It's almost like a second line, you know.
Exactly,
Like
exactly. And so that was really the germ that was created. And I remember we were on tour. This is 40 years ago again, you know.
Yeah.
But we were on tour, and every single day we rehearsed it.
Yeah.
You know, so wherever we were, Atlanta, whatever. Okay, find us a room at the hotel, you know, and then we go in there. So pretty soon I was like, we're gonna rehearse Footloose. Okay. But I have to admit that by doing that, and it developed, and I was able to kind of develop the bass line over a period of time. When we went in the studio to record it, it was like first take, done. You know, that was the like the first hit record I sang on too. I
Really?
had a line, yeah.
Oh, because you're singing the.
I had and put your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
That was my line.
That was your line.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, I wonder if you might play a little of it for us.
If I remember, again, we're going 40 years.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Must be radio edit.
Okay. All right,
Got
cool.
it there. Woo! The stuff that we're putting out today for people that want early and advanced access to any of the content as far as the interview, some of these parts, they're going to be available over on our Skool page in addition to Patreon. So if you're interested in checking some of that stuff out or you want to join us and be part of the community, we will have links to that in the description. But I want to finish today, Nathan, with you and a special guest. Your son Noah is here, and I want to talk about the music that you guys have created together, and maybe we can end the conversation today with a performance of the two of you maybe playing something off of that album. But I want to hear about this music that you created with your son, and it's got to be a really special full circle moment to be able to have somebody creative like you musically in the family, and that you guys can share this together as a father and son.
Absolutely, 100%. You know, and Noah came along at a point when most of these songs that we've played today had already been recorded and gone up and down the charts or whatever. But the unique thing about it is still he was able to tag along to some of the sessions and check out what was going on. As a matter of fact, he has perfect pitch, so he used to sit there and sketch out the song, like he'd write out the part,
right.
While there's little 7-year-old in the back of the studio, just paying attention to what's going on, you know. And then when I went to do my first album, one of the songs he was working on at Piano Play Music Systems, which is a school he went to, it was Yesterday by the Beatles, and he was playing, and I loved the arrangement. And then Chris Giroux, our producer, said, "Hey, let's put it on the record." And so my first record featured Noah, and he played on the second record. And then we said, let's do one of our own. So we're just wrapping it up right now,
Yeah. So when do you suspect that the record will be out?
And we're target date is mid-January 2025.
All right,
Yeah,
all right. So I think that'll be just in time for probably when this will hit the world.
Fantastic, yeah.
So all of the information about where people can check it out, listen to it, stream it. I presume it will be on all of the
It'll be on all the platforms, yeah.
So we'll have all those details listed in the description for people that want to check out that and give it a listen. And you guys have kind of teased out like yesterday. I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic arrangement. Just sounds
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Nathan, for everything, and I can't wait to hear you guys. Let's bring in Noah. Let's get this keyboard out here and let's
see if we can get him set up and play a couple notes here. All right.